Town of Pierson regular council meeting for Tuesday, May the 28th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. will now come to order. Yvonne, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mayor Samuel Bennett.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland.
Here.
Councilwoman Sergio Cardenas. Councilwoman Lenny Richardson. Here. Councilwoman Brandy Pierson. Here. Town Planner Mark Pratt.
Here.
Town Attorney Christian Long.
Here.
Volusia County Sheriff. Present. And we are present.
Thank you, Yvonne. At this time, if you would please bow for the invocation. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for this day that you've blessed us with. Thank you for all of the elected representatives that are here tonight to represent the town. Lord, give us wisdom and direction as we consider the business before us. Thank you for everyone in attendance tonight. And dear God, I also ask for safety and protection for the men and women of our armed services. I pray for their safety and safe return. Also, I lift up in prayer people that are working in public service with law enforcement, fire and rescue, hospitals. Lord, I just pray for their safety. Lord, I also thank you for this. We were able this weekend to remember and reflect for this holiday that we just celebrated. I pray for the families that had family members that did not come home. And dear God, we just thank you for how you blessed this great republic. I ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item for consideration is the regular minutes for May the 11th, 2024. At this time, are there any additions or deletions in minutes? If there are none, the mayor would entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
I have a motion on the floor by Lenny Richardson to approve the regular minutes for May the 11th, 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brandy Pierson. Ready for the question? Yes.
I believe the record should say the 14th, May 14th.
It's the 14th.
Okay. Let the record show that that change be made, that should be dated May the 14th. Are there any other, Mr. Vice Mayor?
No, that's it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, next item for consideration 5A, Farm Workers Association of America. And we have Mr. Ernesto here this evening. Welcome. You could come here and just please state your name and so that we can have that a part of our permanent record.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Ernesto Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. I'm with the Farm Workers Association of Florida. Correction, not of America.
Okay.
First of all, thank you all very much for having us here today. Mr. Mayor, Councilmen, Councilwomen, and members of the Pierson community. Thank you. And in addition to gratitude for here, I also want to offer an apology because, as you may or may not know, we started to pave our office without permission. So our sincerest apologies for me and my colleagues. I need to offer you a second apology. We started to pave on land that isn't ours. Your lovely town clerk informed us that, hey, you guys are paving on town property. So please accept our apologies. We did it out of ignorance, out of haste, not out of ill will. We are here to ask if we could reach some sort of agreement where we can improve the parking lot, including areas that we don't own, that's part of the town of, the city of Pierson. It gets really muddy. Today, you all saw this downpour and it gets flooded, and we have community members who sometimes have physical impairments, they're Ramirez, our general coordinator, has been speaking with Councilwoman Tecla Cardenas, and she told us that part of the issue is, unbeknownst to us, there's some city pipes, I believe, that go underneath the area that we would need to pave, so that's something that would be permanent, would be likely untenable. You know, if the city had to address the pipes or anything underneath, it would be complicated. So she, in lieu of that, suggested that maybe we might want to float a couple of ideas to you all. Namely, some strategies that will improve the surface, but that won't be permanent. She suggested perhaps little gravel, drainage rock, paver. She didn't suggest paver bricks. We were thinking about paver bricks because Jessica has it at her driveway. Something pretty simple, non-permanent. Asphalt, river rocks. So if we could come to some sort of understanding, and again, we understand it's not our land. We're not entitled to it by any means. So it's just a plea, just an ask to see if y'all would take that into consideration. And I think that's all.
That's it. Well, at this time, thank you for being here, and I guess I would need to ask our legal counsel and also our, we have a planner, Mark Coretta of Zebco, and how to best, what are the different options that we have, the town has in this, the question that's been brought before us.
Well, I'm not really sure what's going on. So where is the property?
Yes. 111 Fountain Drive, Pierson. Just walk her through this way.
What were y'all paving and what do you need it for?
It's one of our offices for the Farmers Association of Florida. We connect different people with social services. We have grants from the USDA.
Well, I know what y'all do, but I guess what I mean is, yeah, what do you need that, it's for parking?
Yes, sir.
I see.
So it would help to understand, there's you guys currently are parking in the location already, is that correct? Is this an area where you already park? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a portion of the right of way that you've been parking in, for some time.
At a minimum, we have to transverse a little bit of it, yeah.
Christian, our easement goes how many feet from center? I don't remember.
Well, it's,
But our easement takes up within
Yeah.
25 feet of their door.
I guess you're saying, is it the, do you mean the right of way?
Our right of way, yes.
So the right of way goes up to, there's a 25-foot gap between the door and the right of way?
It's probably up, right, the edge, they're very close. Their building is built very close to the,
Okay, but it's property they own.
their building
It's
is
just,
not property they
it's
own.
just that we have a right of way over it.
Parking that is in front of the building is encroaching in the right of way. And they
Okay,
started-
okay.
We have a survey from 2011. We're commissioning a newer one. We brought it with us if that would be of use for y'all.
Well, let's assume that the parking that y'all have been using and would like to continue using is in the town's right-of-way. It's a little, I'll just explain my concerns as a town attorney, is that just like with a tree in the right-of-way or something like that, ultimately the town has the discretion to take down the tree if it needs. I personally don't have a legal, first of all, you should always have your own attorney, hire your own attorney. But for y'all to consider is, when someone wants to pave something like that, or put gravel in, or or improve it in some way, personally, I don't really care as your attorney, but they have to understand that you have the right to do whatever you want with it. You know, in other words, if you wanted to compel a change to it, I think you would have the right to do that. So, you know, I had a client the other day who wanted to pave over a bunch of pipes, and that Duke Energy maintains and uses, and I was like, well, you can, but Duke can tell you and just rip everything up if they want to get at the pipes, and you're gonna end up paying for it because they have this easement. Now, this is a little different. It's not an easement, it's a right-of-way. So, I don't know if what I'm saying is helpful or not. What I think from a legal perspective, you do things at your own risk in the right-of-way. Long story short, it's their property, you know.
And I would explain it a little differently, but the end result is the same. A lot of cities and towns do allow improvements in the right of way. They dictate what those improvements are, what they allow, and should they, the next council decide something different, it can all be, they won't have any permanent right to, keep it there.
Right.
That whole little area, I mean, limitless parks on our right of way too.
Right, yeah, everybody parks on it.
Right.
I don't have a problem with them improving where they park at, but if there's a water main or something going under there, that's what I would have trouble with. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're more than welcome to put some river rock or some millings, something, if something breaks under, if it's millings, that's not that difficult to get out. And it's not that big of expense either for y'all. It'd be a whole lot,
Right.
it'd be a whole lot easier on the pocketbook, I believe, if you would do millings there instead of concrete. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a problem at all with you improving the parking area there.
Well, like Mark, correct, from the very beginning said they're parking there now. So any improvement that they do there, that would be, I think that would help, because it's just like you stated, now with the rain, it's just a big muddy area. The concrete, I would agree with the vice mayor. I think concrete would be good in the area up to where our piping, we'd have to locate the piping, and then whatever area where we have pipes, that would need to be with some river rock or something that we could access our town water pipes and be able to get to them.
Question, did you have green flags in front? Because I think Lewis said he went over there and put green flags where the pipes were. See any little green flags? Okay, because he went over there to mark where the pipes were.
No, it's raining.
It's
It's
raining.
raining. Okay.
I did not notice, but I'm really bad at noticing visual things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but I know Lewis went over and marked where the pipes were with the flag. Those are them, yep. Those are where pipes are.
You're clearly marked.
But I'm kinda like Bobby, whereas if you put millings down,
Right.
it's easy to get to. If you start concreting,
Yeah, no.
that's gonna
Yeah.
be bad.
Yes, Ryan.
I just wanted to ask Christian, we talked about this with Limitless too, liability wise. So say they put something down, someone parks there and trips on it, it's technically on town property, even though.
It's not town property.
No.
It's just the right of way.
Okay.
So that's just a distinction, the right of way just means we have the right to, compel certain things, make it accessible, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's their property. It'd be like if someone, tripped anywhere along the road, we're not necessarily, look, I can't stop a plaintiff's lawyer from suing everyone within eyesight of a, but I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
How far is it from your door that you would come before you got to where the pipes are underground? Would you still want to, it's up to you what you do there.
I think
If you want to concrete up to there, that's your business.
If it's the markings that we see, it's like on the side of the building,
We don't
not right in front.
have the,
No, they run in that with him because somehow.
that would be
they
ideal.
were in the
That would be ideal. I would like that, because the only thing that's noticed here is farmworkers association. It has nothing to do, It's not even really proper notice the way that it is. If that, does that,
Yeah,
Exactly
yeah,
the whole
that's it.
spot.
So maybe this today?
yeah, I would rather,
To come
yeah.
present
Okay,
A
okay,
proposal,
yeah, yeah.
proposal.
Yeah, and I understand now.
Okay.
Well, I think even if there's not pipes there now, the right of way still has to remain open in case something ever has to come through. Like
That's
Spectrum
right.
just came through.
Right.
So in other words,
Yeah.
regardless of whether there's pipes there or not, you still need to know
Right. New
the
utilities.
distance from the center line or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
not pave past that point because you don't want to
Right.
pave in the right of way.
Or throw millings or gravel.
Millings would probably be the best because you could get through them if you
You
had
can
to.
get to them if you need to.
I think that, I believe the board, the consensus is that I don't think we have a problem with you improving this area. However, we probably would need to, I'd like to request that you come and bring us a proposal or a drawing of what you're proposing to do, and then we will put that down as an agenda item and spell it out, because really it's it's just on the agenda as Farm Workers Association of America, so really it needs to be properly noticed. So we can, if you would get together what you would like to put there, and I know I'll be supporting y'all making an improvement there. I think it'll be a nice addition and it'll help the area, but we just want to do everything the right way and make sure that there's not any issues as we move forward. So if you could get that and present it to either Yvonne or Brian, and then we'll put it down as an agenda item at our next regular meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah, really, really appreciate your time and your.
Okay?
Thank you.
Figure us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming and wish you the best.
Take care, likewise. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next item for consideration, 5B, commercial rentals, new town center, discussion and action, or Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as you all remember, our workshop we had last Monday. At our workshop, we agreed to offer a room to Miss Beth Parker for tutoring purposes for $650. I contacted Beth and informed her that we had discussed it and at our workshop decided that we would have to charge $650 and that we would be voting on that tonight. Beth appreciates everything that we're doing to facilitate this, but $650 scared her off. She didn't want to commit to that because she still doesn't know just how much participation she's going to have, and she does not want this to cost her anything out of pocket. And I told her, I said, well, I thoroughly understand that, and she told me that she would stay in contact with me, but she did also tell me that she would pursue the other place that she had available to see what kind of participation she has to start with. So,
Is she looking maybe to get another room at less?
I don't know what, I know she had inquired to, up there, the Seville, the old elementary school up there, I believe. I don't know what they've offered her a room for. I didn't ask. And, I told her that, I just told her what, we don't know either. I said, we don't have a meter on every building up there. It all runs through one meter, so we don't know about that. We don't know what the county's gonna charge us for property taxes if we rent a room out. So I told her, I said, Beth, I said, I don't blame you if you don't think you can pay that. And, And we just don't know what it's gonna cost us.
Yeah, we're in a learning curve.
Yeah,
as well.
we're in a learning curve as
She
well.
is.
So anyway, I mean, I just thought I'd mention, let y'all know that she didn't know if she could handle $650.
Cause we have a lot of expenditures to do before we can even go there.
All right.
The carpet's what, 12,000? And we have to have the building surveyed.
Yeah, it's all on here.
Yeah.
It's all on here.
Yeah, okay.
I will say that I talked to somebody who goes up to Seville frequently. They actually don't have rooms to rent up there. I think what they do in Seville is, it's like, we have these nights available, almost like our community center.
Right.
So instead of you signing a lease to be there permanently, it's like, well, we can offer you Tuesday nights. And I think they just use either their multimedia center or whatever it is that they have there, where they do the bingo, they do the historical talks. And I do know, I was told by one person that the daycare up there is $1,600 a month rent. But that's the use of, I think, the gym, it's the use of their building and then one other outbuilding, I don't know which one it is. And obviously, they could probably afford to do that because they're a daycare, they're
Right.
getting money for all the kids every month, you know.
Right.
But, I did ask about that because I was curious how much they rented rooms for, just to kind of have a basis. And they told me that there are no rooms for rent up there. Because, you know, there's Seville Elementary, the inside of that building is only like 7 rooms or something like that. So they told me they didn't have anything. That's what I was told. I don't know how true that is, but.
Well, I guess maybe I have a question if we're gonna go that route, because is there, I mean, once we get all of these rooms surveyed, is there like a couple rooms that maybe we could decide if it's something we wanna do to set aside, where we can rent them out like
Well,
that?
I was gonna ask if we could maybe do the cafeteria that way, where people could reserve it like the community center. There's tables and chairs out there. There is a projector in there. I don't know how it works, but it's all in there. I was thinking maybe we could, but Christian would have to be involved in that, because now you're talking about booking it like you're renting a room for a day or a week. You're not signing a traditional lease, so.
But I mean, if we kept that as a public place or whatever, then wouldn't the taxes be?
Yeah, there'd be
kept different?
no real estate taxes, because we'd be using it, we'd be renting it for our use.
But what if
You
we
know,
didn't
discount.
rent it, what if we, like we do the community center, where we donated some, I'm just asking.
You could do that too, technically, right, if you wanted to allow people to use it for free.
You could do all those things.
Yeah. But you could also, you know, people call us all the time, like, who is it that wants the community center sometimes do their meeting DOT? Like, sometimes they come for like a conference and they just it's like a centralized location for them to meet. The school uses it, so I mean, you could do a daily rental rate on it, or a weekly rental rate on it.
I rented a room at Claremont City Hall recently for, I don't remember, $150 for 4 hours, something like that, so.
I was just in a deposition and Comfort Inn in DeLand for 8 hours. It was rented out for the day, maybe something to that effect.
Yeah, so we got lots of different things that we could, different ranges of rent or to charge, and
But anyway, in lieu
Yeah.
of the information that I've informed y'all with, I don't know how if the council wants to go ahead and proceed on passing this. You know, the $650 a room, but like Councilwoman Richardson said, that, you know, we don't have nothing ready anyway.
Right.
So I think we should just put this to the side until we get something ready to rent. But I do think we need to get at least one room rented.
Well,
I think we really just need to keep hashing this out in our workshops like we do. I feel like we get lots of stuff accomplished there.
Right.
Because I mean, none of us are 100% on this rental thing.
That's
And
true.
we're to benefit the town, we're to benefit the people of our town, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's big enough, your campus is big enough that you can try different things, and just because you decide on one thing doesn't mean you can't change course later
Right.
as well. In fact, even with the leases, I mean, hearing about how the price dissuaded her, you could try a month to month for certain people. You could backload the rent. You could say $300 a month, and it grows till maybe it's $1,200 at the end or something. It gives them a chance. Maybe they haven't really terminated. It's just ideas. I'm not proposing that you micromanage everything, but there's options.
I kind of agree with the vice mayor and then what the comments that Councilwoman Lenny Richardson made, that we're not ready. So maybe we, at this time, maybe we don't want, I'm thinking that's what y'all are saying, that you don't want to set the lease amount at this time.
I like the idea what our attorney just mentioned. You know, let's start it off like $300 a month. And as is, if they can't handle $300 a month, then they're not gonna be doing it very long. And if, you know what I mean? If they get more participation, then we increase it. I don't know how you wanna do it. I just think, I knew
All I know is
650.
we gotta
I knew
spend a
650.
busload of money.
Oh, I do. I'm well aware of that. Well aware of that, but I knew, and I don't wanna lease it out for, if we're not gonna at least break even on it. Like you say, we don't have meters on every building, so we don't know what it's gonna cost us exactly for electric. We can figure that out though.
Well, I
Once we
agree
start
with
using the rate.
what Christian just stated and what you're saying. We're not locked into anything, so we can customize something to, but right now, she's basically withdrawn and said she has no interest at this time. That's correct?
Right.
So if she comes back, and has an interest, then we'll be more ready for her to move in, or whoever, it might be someone else that's ready to move in. And then we can take, look at all of our expenditures and then come up with something that will work, as you stated, or Christian stated, you know, maybe start out with a smaller amount and work it into, so. But it's up to the board if y'all want whatever y'all would like to do.
Well, since we don't have anything ready yet, I think we should just table this until we do. And then at that time, we'll figure out how we want to go about charging for it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor, Robert F. Greenland, to table the commercial rental new town center, action until a later date. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, next item for consideration, 4C, 4th of July discussion and action, Councilwoman Brandy Pierson.
The popcorn machine was like $50 to rent, all the same people that we rent the inflatables from.
Really?
So they just took it upon themselves just to rent it for this year for $50.
I like that.
Yeah.
In your packet, there's a snow cone machine and the warranty.
And
Yeah,
there's a 1-year warranty on it, so.
That's $577.66.
I'd say I like that rental for this year,
That's for the popcorn.
for the popcorn.
They didn't do this for the.
No, we decided we would trial the popcorn this year, and if it does well, maybe entertain buying one in the future, but during the workshop, you stated you'd probably like to buy a snow cone machine because they do so well.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just rented the popcorn machine for this year.
I think
And,
that's a smart thing to do.
Okay.
But we know we're gonna sell, you sell all the damn snow cones.
Oh, yeah, you can make,
Pop out.
yeah.
You could be running that thing right now out of,
Yeah.
and it would
Probably-
make a lot of
we
money.
could-
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could
Test it out to make sure it works properly.
Staff is in favor, yeah.
So I make a motion to approve the snow cone machine for $577.66, and it has a 1-year warranty.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Brandy Peterson to purchase a snow cone machine in the amount of $577.66. And it's a blast snow cone machine. and it has a 1/3 horsepower. And so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, Eford Surveying, New Town Center discussion and action, Deputy Clerk Ryan Smith.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about this at our workshop, but essentially the way it works now is as the town, we don't pay any real estate taxes. The second we rent a space for commercial use, you now have to pay a real estate tax on it because we're renting it for commercial use. In order to do that at the town center, the Volusia County Property Appraiser's Office needs a legal description for every building on campus because they need to be able to identify exactly where and what the square footage is of what's being rented. So in order to do that, we had to contact Eford Surveying, who's got to do a boundary survey and then a legal description for each individual building on campus. So I spoke to Justin at Eford. The boundary survey is $4,000, and then each proposed legal description for each building is $250 per building, of which there are 10. So that's another $2,500, so the grand total is $6,500. And what that gets us is a boundary survey and a legal description of each building, and what you essentially have is you have a parent parcel and then 10 child parcels that will be filed with Volusia County Property Appraiser. And it's just one of those things, we spoke to the property appraiser's office and they said it didn't have to be an exact, it doesn't have to be as detailed as a piece of property would be, but they still need something that differentiates every room in every building. So Justin tried to kind of work with us a little bit on that because it's not as involved as it could have been. But we did do that for the bank building too. We paid a portion of the property tax there. So that's just a thing that the property appraiser is going to want to know. But then you would also have an updated survey of this building because the last survey we could find, the school drew proposed lines on it, and I don't know if maybe Mark or Christian knows because I wasn't here. I can't find one after the sale or the purchase. We saw the proposed from Volusia County, but we don't have one actually showing where their property ends and ours begins. So then you have an updated survey of the building.
Kristen, how do you,
Well, for your leases, you only need a map. You don't technically need a legal. But I understand where the property appraiser, it is in your interest to have a legal description because you don't want the property appraiser to be guessing. You don't want, they're not going to guess in your favor.
Right.
If that makes sense. So the other thing that I would just point out is I think, actually I forgot what else I was going to say. Probably wasn't that important.
So we don't need a legal survey per se?
Not, when you lease a space or you give a license to a piece of property, technically what you need is something that is sufficient to identify the property. So, for example, if you have a lease on a house, you don't need a legal description in the lease. A mailing address usually suffices, right?
I think that this is for the leases, this is for us to have a survey and all of this done, right?
not really,
When
it's
I
for the
spoke to
county.
Jeff Kostat at the property appraiser's office, he said him and Kenny Ruger stated that the legal description was because right now this is one address. These are not independent buildings. It is one address. For tax purposes, they have to divide it up. So let's say you rent room 10 or you rent room, they need something to tell them which room is which room.
And I don't want them, guessing that it's actually 400 square feet instead of 200. It's double the tax.
Right.
This is the point I was going to raise about that, is it does, I think, lend credence to Councilwoman Richardson's point about the rent rates, because if you're gonna get property taxes on commercial, what they think is commercial, you know, property tax, it's gonna be higher. So you're gonna have to make sure that you at least cover your
Right.
costs. We don't even know what those are gonna be yet.
This being one of those costs.
Yeah, that, I mean,
This
the
being
first one,
Exactly.
exactly, yeah, yeah. It's a big cost.
Yeah, I just don't think we need to spend that kind of money right now. I don't see why you cannot measure a building and then measure the rooms in that building. I can get the exact square foot of every building on this property. And I'm not an engineer and I'm not a surveyor. And I don't know why that will not suffice the property appraiser's office.
Personally, legally, I think it should,
I think so.
but
too.
they told y'all that it won't, I guess. I don't know if they did or not, but legally it is sufficient. There's no doubt about it. But
Well, we
I
do,
don't know, Christian, if you wanna call over to, and talk to Jeff Costa, he's the deputy chief over there.
Okay.
Right under Larry Bartlett, and he's the
Sure.
one that told me this, so.
oh, I'm not disbelieving that they told you that. It makes it easier for them,
Yeah, oh, I understand. It makes
because
sense.
then they're not taking our word for it, you know? But, the law is pretty clear that, you know, it's not a game, you know? If it's 200 square feet, it's 200 square feet. They should bill us based on that.
well, since we don't have, we just had somebody withdraw that was wanting to rent the one room, and it's not an expenditure that we have to do right now. I agree with the vice mayor that we don't need to be, making that expenditure at this time. Because we do have a survey, a little further down that if we do move forward with trying to get the water out of that area, we're gonna have to survey that.
Do we have a map of the premises with all the rooms and everything or anything like
Not
that?
updated, that's kind of where all of this goes. I mean, we don't have the money, but because somebody backed out, we're not gonna move forward with all these things that we've done all the legwork for, that's gonna have to be done before we can move forward with any of this. I mean, we're kind of going backwards instead of
So what we
forwards.
have is we have the old survey from the school, which still shows the portable classrooms.
And
then
those aren't
They
there.
just drew a bunch of stuff on it, you know, proposed power easement, proposed property line. So we've got that, but it's just a boundary, there's no offset measurements, there's
Well,
no measurements.
does it
on
have-
Does it show the other buildings, the permanent buildings?
Yeah,
That
it shows
shows-
that, but it shows the whole campus as it was, you know, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Right.
Well, I'm just,
Before
for our
the split,
purposes,
so
well,
the gym
Yeah,
and
so it
all
still
that
shows
is
the
still
gym.
all on
It
that,
shows
and
all
that's
the
not
stuff that
really
was on the other side
connected.
as well.
so at least as far as legal concerns on your leases, I think that could probably be sufficient, because you can scan it and take out the portable. It sounds like you could cover up the portable stuff, I don't know. But, so I'm not worried in terms of your immediate concerns.
And I'm not saying that we won't come back
Right.
and make that expenditure. I just don't see that we need to spend that much money for a survey for the county at this time. You
So
know,
why don't we do this? Why don't we table this? And give Christian direction to speak with the property appraiser.
And if we have a survey that shows the
Building.
buildings and has the dimensions of that building, I haven't seen the survey, so I don't know. Have y'all looked at that survey?
We have it on the computer.
Got it on the computer?
What was,
Yeah, if it's to scale.
If it's to scale,
Yeah.
that should suffice the property appraisers. But that survey we got from the county, school board, has the dimensions of every building on this property.
it doesn't have the dimensions of every building.
Okay, well, that was
But if
my
it's to
question.
scale-
It has a picture of a building, a picture of a building, a picture of a building, and it said, like written, it'll say electrical easement, it'll say this, it'll say.
But is it to scale? Do you know if it has a scale? I mean, if it is,
It
Is it
should
to
be.
scale?
yeah,
It
then
should be.
then we may be okay. But it's worth a phone call.
Sure.
yeah, so, I think,
And then
Lenny,
let's
do
go
you have a
survey, see
motion?
if it's
Table
to
this
scale.
and grant Christian, permission to speak with the property appraiser regarding the surveys.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to table this and for Christian to speak with the county officials for further clarification for consideration at a later date. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item number 5E, 103 Second Avenue political event, Stephanie Cox and a William Bittorf.
Thank you for allowing me. Mr. Bidoff is not here tonight. He's not feeling well. Got some kind of bug. And our political fundraiser, who is retired, she is not able to attend tonight either. But anyhow, we have a lot of good ideas, and so what I would like to find out tonight, if there's any restriction to any specific activity within the city limits for political.
Within city
I
limits.
know.
Wait, what?
For Mr. Bidoff's property, I should say.
Well, you
On
should,
private property.
Mr. Bittorf's property is right across the street from our former
Right.
town hall.
oh, okay, then I'm familiar with that property. I think that y'all need to hire your own legal counsel. But from a town perspective, what we care about is the town code being followed, Florida statutes being respected, and no one being harmed.
That's it, that's simple.
I don't know, I mean, I
Simple
guess,
fact.
what are you, do you have any specific, are you thinking of shooting guns off into the sky, or, serving, you know?
No, and I can't survey your property. Nothing really wild and crazy. We talked about a poker run. We talked about, possibly a beer tent, but that again is dependent on your code and.
There are sections of our town code that address that kind of thing, and it is now thankfully online, so it can be viewed at your leisure.
Cost of permit. Is there a permit cost?
What kind of permit?
Do I need a permit?
The town in the past has issued special event permits. I don't know if I have the name, you know, what the costs are associated with that. There is special event permits. The clerk does have forms for that. You visit the clerk's office and get answers.
Oh, well, I was there, but anyhow, things that I've actually did. Are there any excluded dates that you have, the city has planned that you wouldn't want? An event that might bring a lot of people? I mean, we already have a whole bunch here.
I think you need to describe the event, you know, how big is it, what are you talking about? Is this, you know, you're gonna have to hire off-duty police officers to handle, traffic and that sort of stuff?
Wasn't it like over 500 people that it was required to hire law enforcement for traffic control, and so forth?
Do we have a resolution on that? I mean, how many people are y'all expecting? What kind of event? I mean, do you have any details on this?
I know, I'm here alone.
Okay, I don't know, I can't really provide an advisory opinion on behalf of the town unless
If I have an event that was 500 and over, is there a cost, or, I mean, are we obligated then?
well, you've got potential liability issues there, right? So it'd be really good idea to work with law enforcement and to figure out how to deal with that. Now, from the town perspective, I do think we have in the past helped organize on these things from a public safety perspective, but I don't know, I can't think of an ordinance that we have on it, so if there's a resolution with fees, I'm just not aware of it.
Yeah, there is, as I said in the past, you guys, that have issued special event permits. And there were conditions.
Yeah.
I don't have,
But
you know,
a
that
poker
information,
run, I
not
don't
in my
understand that.
That's not
I don't
planned.
know.
Motorcycle run.
So should we
Pardon?
cover
A motorcycle run.
A motorcycle
Or,
run.
but I'm confused.
And that this would be like the stop, one of the
That
stops.
would be the final destination, or beginning and end.
It's a charitable, raise money.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they go from place to place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The-
Okay.
Or a poker run that I'm aware of.
Right.
Yes, right. Yeah, it goes from one venue to another and,
That makes sense.
right.
What organization or person?
Political fundraiser. Drinking bottle,
Is it for a campaign or a person or?
not an individual campaign.
Okay.
So maybe just to come in and
Just need to check with.
fill out the application.
I would check, yeah, I think this is worth a conversation with the staff. This is not really a town council thing and isn't, I think, noticed as such, you know, on the agenda, so I think we can have a conversation about this outside of the meeting.
So I need to make an appointment.
I don't know, that,
No, she can come
I think
into
your
the office.
first
My
step would
question
be-
was, prior to this, we've had a special event, and I know it was based on the amount of people. Well, I wasn't here when all that happened, so I'm not familiar with any of that.
okay, then we need to research
So
it.
that's the one thing, and then when she said it was a political event, I didn't know if we had
Right.
any ordinances or anything that stated we can't do that. 'Cause that was
Does she
going
agree
through.
with you, Mark?
Well, we will have to, in the past, the land development code doesn't address special events. Basically, there's a list of things you're allowed to do, and if it's not on that list, it's prohibited. This isn't on the list, but there was, through the code and ordinances, the ability to do some types of special events, that once they had a plan, they came forward. They, you know, this is not how this is done. It's not, you tell us the universe of what we do. They need to come forward with a plan saying, you know, this is a
This is
piece of
what we want to
property,
do, right.
we wanna have a tent here, we wanna have this many people come to it. We don't really care what the, you know, we're not regulating the political activity, but we are concerned about what potential negative impacts there could be from a large event that would draw a significant number of people to the properties. You gotta come up with a plan that we can react to.
I obviously am not the event planner.
When is this event?
Well, we wanted to have it before August, so we're running out of time at this point. It is kind of a last minute thing, and Mr. Bidoff, gave offered his property here and
Right.
over in Daytona, so.
Right. Well, you got plenty of time. You got 2 months.
Yeah, and we'll have to look at the town code. I mean, I'm looking through it now. I don't see where it is, but if we can just figure it out, I mean, this is kind of hitting us cold and,
If you could come, you know, to our next meeting and give us a more, you know, it doesn't have to be detailed to how many people exactly, but, you know, we need an idea. We need an idea, just like our town planner says, you know, how big a crowd are we looking at? Cause there's some residential people right there close too.
Right.
Well, we have to take it. Right, that's
Do you-
right, that we gotta take it into consideration.
Do you live in the area?
I live in Bush County, but not in Pierson.
But it would it, could you come back then and meet with the staff, as we had mentioned earlier, and then maybe, between the staff and Mark, I think we could give you an answer to what you'd like to do. And what was stated, we need a proposal of what you're wanting to do. Proposal and dates and details.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item, 5F, DRA, Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we kicked this dead dog down the road a long time. There's a lot of issues in the town that have got to be addressed. And without the appointment of a DRA, we're dead in the water. So, it's time, I feel, that we go ahead and nominate an employee so we can handle some of these infractions.
Okay. Mark, how would this, if we appoint a DRA person, how refresh all of our memories of how this is?
Well, my understanding is that, and it's for a while now, we did pass an ordinance that, you know, clarified the powers and duties of the DRA, but nobody was ever appointed. So there are a number of activities under the Land Law Code that the DRA handles, only one of which is initiating investigations for code enforcement, you know, for code violations. So, the DRA has responsibilities for, you know, taking in applications, routing applications, seeing that things get on agendas. So, like I said, one of the duties of the DRA is to initiate the investigation of code enforcement violations. And of course, if you don't have DRA, nobody can initiate code enforcement violations. But that's not their sole responsibility.
But we don't have a code enforcement.
No.
It's
Yeah.
not
We
code enforcement.
have
You don't have a code
ordinances.
enforcement board, you do have a code enforcement process in your land development code, right? So it's not that you don't have code enforcement, you have a described process. It does not go to a code enforcement board.
Right.
So you do have a process that, the way the code is written, the DRA initiates that.
Initiates the,
that process.
They do that, they would initiate it, or would they bring what they're wanting to do before the board, before it's?
Well, the way the code works is an investigation of a complaint is done under the auspices of the DRA. So you can structure it any way you like, but the way the code's written now, you have to have somebody in that position for you to do it. Like you do not investigate, you do it through the DRA.
And if there's a violation found, they issue the notice of violation. It's got to be brought into compliance. It all operates through the DRA, who you vest with the authority under your land development code.
But the DRA, the code enforcement side that you keep referring to, that's only one piece of it. You said do the town permit was not on our doing all that stuff, so basically she already is our DRA?
She does, technically, you know, either she does it or I do it at her request. That's the way it works now. She does, you know, 90%.
So this would just give us capability to go forward with the ordinances we can't do anything about right now because we don't have this DRA.
Well, so I mean, it is the case that you have enforced your code without the DRA in the past. This is something that's been raised a few times. There was a lawsuit instigated based on code, and it was resolved. But if they had wanted to challenge it, they would have won. So that was an issue I brought up when I first became the town attorney, is I was concerned about the fact that essentially they were illegal code enforcement. Now, you can pursue, and maybe they don't challenge it. Maybe they don't call your bluff, and maybe they bring it into compliance. But short of that, you have to have a DRA. With the law as it's written now.
So maybe this is another thing for Mike. So Yvonne somebody would call, email, come up here, file the complaint with her, that's how this would happen, and then
She could then bring it to you guys could say that this should be investigated. Depending upon what the violation is, she could ask somebody, if it's a long grass violation, she could probably delegate to somebody who could determine whether the grass was, if that's a code violation or a junk vehicle. Somebody could go look at that, right? If it was a zoning violation, she could ask me to investigate. She would have the ability to.
So she's basically the keeper of the record for the complaint. And delegates.
She administers, the way the code is written, it's administering a process.
It's like the executive branch. You're the legislative branch. You determine they're vested with the authority to make it happen.
But in all actuality, it's not a code enforcement.
It's not like code enforcement board.
Right.
You say you have no code enforcement.
It is
Like-
code.
like-
No,
like
it
I'm-
is code enforcement.
Right? It's not a code enforcement board, if that's what you mean, but it is a process of code enforcement. It is a way for you to address violations of your ordinance.
Of our existing ordinance.
Correct.
But you're saying it is code enforcement,
It is code enforcement.
and then this board would act as that board?
Nope.
No.
As it stands, you'd be, if you tonight appointed a DRA, and let's say, for laughs and giggles, that it was the town clerk, okay? You would be vesting the town clerk with the authority to, upon, receipt of a complaint, conduct an investigation of that complaint. Maybe there's too many signs in a window. We do have an ordinance on that. And then she can investigate, provide a time to them to issue a notice. Say you're in violation. You've got 15 days to bring it into compliance. If they don't, then, she throws a hammer down and starts another process, which could lead to a daily fine, could lead to us pursuing them in court. But either way, it really runs without you. It could run without you.
And the board of adjustment is the appeal process.
It could be appealed, yes.
And that's what happened last time. They appealed it to they said, we're not in violation. Well, they appealed it to the Board of Adjustment. The Planning Commission was acting as the Board of Adjustment. And the Planning Commission determined, no, this is in fact a junkyard. And that is, and basically upheld the decision that was made at that time. The investigation was done by Claire, then my predecessor. So they upheld the determination that Claire had made. They told them to come in compliance, gave them a certain amount of additional time to come in compliance. They didn't do so. A lawsuit was filed, and then they came into compliance. That's what happened. The initial lawsuit was brought back to you as the town council. Right? So
But it worked.
it did work.
Well, we don't want, we all sit here and say, we don't want code enforcement, we don't want code enforcement. If we don't have some kind of code enforcement, we fix and be in a lot of trouble right here, because as soon as people start realizing they can come here and do what they want, we're not really gonna do nothing about it, they're gonna do it more and more. They're doing it
Well, I
right
can
here in front of us
understand
right now.
our ordinances.
Right.
The ones we already have.
Right.
Yeah, this is just trying to make us be able to enforce them. Because without the DRA, we can't do anything.
But we have in the past. Correct, Mark? Yes or no?
Yes, we did do it, but as Christian pointed out, we weren't actually following what our
DRA is put mandatorily on municipalities to handle complaints by the state, I can go for this. If it's not, I can't. It's that simple.
Say that again now.
If the state of Florida mandates municipalities to have a DRA to, in effect, enforce that municipality's ordinances, I'm good with this.
And that is not the case.
Okay, then what is the
Our
case
charter.
then?
Well, what I mean is, it's not the case that the state requires it. This is just your law. This is a law that y'all passed. I don't know when it was passed. This is what you created to handle code enforcement in Pierson. But there is no.
But so to speak, there's no code enforcement, so all this is this ordinance enforcement.
Well, your ordinances are the code.
Right.
Yeah. So it's code. It would be code enforcement. But just the laws that you have on the books.
Mr. Mayor, you have some questions?
Yes, Rick.
Rick Davis, 153 East Second Avenue. As much as I hate the idea of having a code enforcement, we've got too many things going on in this town right now that will, sooner or later, gonna have to require action by this town. And I speak frankly, the cat situation is outrageous, and it's getting worse every day. We've got cat mills all over this place, and we can't regulate it. The only way you can regulate it is with an automobile, and you can only get so many so fast. Lamb bites. My neighbors have litters of cats all over the place right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You've got them using your yard for the restrooms, you've got them coming in and eating the food, you're looking at potentially health hazards with all the feces that's around. So sooner or later, this town's gonna have to do something about that situation. Whether it's done through a code enforcer or y'all just close your eyes to speeding on.
Would the code enforcement, would that address the cat? Because the problem right now with the cat issue is that the county, their policy that supersedes ours is that their policy is they, as you know, they pick up a cat, neuter it, and then take it right back and turn it out.
And which is worthless, but does their policy supersede our policy, or are we using their policy?
We went back to
The
Volusia County Animal Control. We went back to Volusia County, we gave our animal control back to Volusia County.
That was a willing action by us, that wasn't that they superseded our authority.
No.
Yeah.
We chose to do
We could theoretically pass a law that the county wouldn't supersede. I don't know what that law would be, I mean, to address this, but.
if nothing else, it becomes a health issue, when you get health department involved. I mean, you drive around my place and you smell all kinds of good stuff.
So what, in regards to that,
DRA has, that's animal control, and you guys could,
Unless it's a nuisance. If it's a nuisance, the DRA might have the ability to deal with that.
okay. Thank you, Rick. Yes,
Robin Reed, 570 North Pine Street. So two things, I know you, Christian, you said that we got very lucky, that they did not do the report and we were lost, correct?
If,
So this town is already on a shoestring. If we continue with the code enforcement as is, and we ask them to let us do it, and they take us to court, we're going to lose. I don't think the town has money to pay those lawsuits out. We need code enforcement. Second thing, if you guys, as the council,
think this town's been enforcing their ordinances for years. Am I,
Well, you-
Bobby, what have we enforced? The only thing I can ever really think of was the Fountain Drive issue.
the issue with, the Whitneys? They're on,
The nuisance?
Yeah, the nuisance, didn't that get,
Well, because we didn't,
didn't that get resolved?
because we didn't have
mean-
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, because we didn't, the method I came up with to get around that was there does happen to be a Florida statute that talks about the steps you can take if it's a nuisance, if it's like a health sanitary danger to the community. So that was one example where we were able to do a separate lawsuit. It may have been more expensive though, in that you paid me to do it instead of having your staff do it using the DRA mechanism. It's just trade-offs.
So we did enforce the,
We did.
and we have been.
No, I mean, believe me, I know there's some things that I'm not liking. I've seen a bunch of stuff that I'm not liking, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I don't see why we can't handle that now.
We used to handle it now, we handle it, that's kind
But
of what.
per our
this-
charter, we can't legally handle it.
Maybe we need to amend the charter so that we can do it.
So the steps that we've taken on a few other things that have gotten resolved is I've written angry letters. Sometimes a letter does the trick. For the instances where a letter does not do the trick, if it's, and honestly, you don't have that many code sections anyways. You have zoning issues, and you have signs and windows, you've got lights, a couple things that Councilwoman Richardson's brought up over the years. And it's in Citrus County, where I'm the code enforcement special magistrate, the binder's this big. Your grass can't be over 18 inches.
Right.
If they don't like the way something it's crazy, to be honest. But you don't have that here, for whatever it's worth. As the mayor pointed out, you also could change your code enforcement mechanism. You could create a board. You yourselves could serve as the board. But either way, you would still need someone to actually do the investigation, to receive the complaint, determine if a violation is occurred. That's not ever going to be your job. What you could do is theoretically assume the responsibilities yourselves for determining whether or not someone is guilty.
So how do you change your charter? Doesn't it have to go to the people for a vote? Right. So we missed this year's deadline for it to go to a vote.
I don't know if it would require an amendment to the charter. It would require major
Change.
costly revisions to your land development code.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wanna do that. I don't mind trying a DRA. I think there's
I
places,
think
a lot of
that is-
places where it needs to be enforced.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that fact at all. My issue is, I do not want this, and I'm only one person. I don't want it to turn into a code enforcement board.
No.
And if I can be assured that that's not what it's gonna be, then I'm for it.
All we can do is enforce our current ordinances, correct?
That is correct. Well, I'm wondering, Vice Mayor, what do you mean when you say you don't want it to be a code enforcement board? What is that?
Because I remember our old mayor, our passed away mayor, that was mayor for a long time. He'd go to meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and I don't know how many of the other mayors told our mayor, if y'all don't have a code enforcement board, don't ever get into it, because it's like you say, they'll turn it into, if your damn grass is too damn high, you get it cut.
Yeah, so that part won't happen. It's only whatever you've got on the books. So for example, while we've been talking, I did find the section on large gatherings. You do have a section. That,
Right.
that actually could be possibly enforced by a DRA or the Volusia County Sheriff's, but it's section 12-20. It's not going to be anything that you don't pass as a law. Like I said, the things I can remember that have come up before, we've had zoning issues where people were using property in ways that they shouldn't use property, meaning a commercial use on a residential
Right.
use or something like that. We've had lights, bright lights.
Mm-hmm.
We've had too much sign coverage in commercial windows. I'm trying to think what else that's come. I don't
What's that?
remember.
The dumpster up here.
I don't remember.
When these people put in the handy-way, the dumpster was always overflowing
Oh,
and out.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot of things that's coming to it, and I think it's things we just do, we just don't have anybody named this person. And without that person, we can't follow our land development codes. That we already have.
So without this person, Mark, Christian, how would something come forth now without having a DRA?
I guess my thing is, why do we not want a DRA? I
Well,
thought that's the way that it wanted you, I thought the previous board wanted a DRA. Before, that's why they rewrote the land development regulation for a DRA. Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, this issue was pointed out that that we were not following the code. Code is written, one of the reasons why it couldn't be followed is it made the DRA was the building official, if you recall.
All right.
Town does not have a building official. Right? We have a contractor, a contract provider that provides building permit and building permit services, but there is no employee universal that is designated, the building official. In addition to that, Universal said even if we were to even if they were to agree to have somebody designated as a building official, they don't want to do code enforcement services. Right? So you would either have to, under the way our code was originally, you'd either have to, hire somebody who was a qualified building official, or change your ordinance. And so we changed the ordinance. Right? So that the DRA was not synonymous with the building official. The town has no building official. So it was to be an employee of the city appointed by y'all.
Mayor, your question was, without a DRA, how does something get presented? Like if there's a code issue?
Yes. How are we operating now?
The way I view it is when someone raises a concern, it usually comes before you and you usually direct me to write a letter or something like that.
Well, it
That's-
usually goes to the office, right? I mean, usually it goes to the complaint, I mean, it's received here at the office. And then they, I mean, correct, isn't that how normally, and then they would reach out to you, or Vaughn reaches
Well, it comes
out
to the
you?
office, then the office would present it to the board, and then we would, is that what you just said?
I don't know how it gets, I presume it does go through the office first.
Yeah.
But usually when I've seen it, it comes from them to here, or one of you raises it.
Yeah, I think right now, either they come and they complain to us about it, or they call a council person, or
Right.
they complain to a council person who puts it on an agenda.
Right.
I don't think there's any formal process. They just call whoever will listen,
Correct.
depending on who they know.
I think so.
Yeah.
So right now, the way it works, you have a complaint, and then that complaint basically is brought forth to the full board. And then we make a decision how to move, or we instruct either our legal counsel or how to proceed and move forward with it.
There's only here's the thing though, if you're calling what Christian said, you basically have two options. One, you can write a strongly worded letter. If this particular issue rises to the level of public nuisance, you can file a lawsuit. If it's not a lawsuit, all you can do is write a strong letter that may or may not bring anybody into compliance. That's what you can do currently with how the DRA position gets done.
Or we can possibly ask Councilman Pierson to go fix the problem. I presume that's why you had the 8-hour deposition. Crowbar related?
8-hour deposition, that's only one of 15 that I've done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So essentially, if they don't respond to the strongly worded letter, we don't have anything, because there's no one appointed to actually say you're in violation, tag their door, or whatever they have to do and start fining them. So it just
So
kind of
that tells me then that the DRA has more authority than the council. Is what y'all just told me.
It has different authority. You know, yes, I mean, it's different authorities. So the DRA would have more authority. You would have no authority, frankly, unless it was something that they couldn't resolve on their own and it required some kind of other extraordinary measure.
Well, the board's authority is to make the ordinance, then you have
Right.
somebody to enforce it.
That's correct.
And it's real simple to me. I mean, we wasted a lot of time here. If we're gonna enforce our ordinances, you either have to change your charter or get a DRA. DRA is the only solution as far as I see it. And then you can go to work immediately on solving your problem. Rather than going through the expense of the charter change with the land development changes that I understand have to be done. We dragged this
Yeah, I
out.
know that's a lot of expense in that.
Real simple, to enforce our ordinances, we've got to have somebody to do it, because
Now, in regards to DRA, the question that he raised, Rick Davis, about cats, would that have an effect? How would that be applicable?
if you had an ordinance that regulated the number of cats, for example, I'm just coming up with some, then the DRA would enforce that ordinance.
Well, that is so there's some cities and counties, for example, Citrus County, where I'm the special magistrate, there's an ordinance that says you can only have so many chickens per acre, so many, fowl per acre, whatever it is. And code enforcement, they go out there, they count. If it's in violation, have 15 days to get rid of them. If they don't get rid of them, it comes in front of me. I determine there's a violation. I say, okay, daily fine of $50 until that chicken goes. That's how it would work. If you had a law like that, which you don't. So I guess probably too many would be maybe 100 cats per quarter acre or something like that. But
I don't think it'd take that many.
but
I'm not even gonna say that.
I can tell you love them.
Let me ask you this, can this be, what's the word, repelled?
Repealed? Yeah.
Repealed?
You could theoretically appoint a DRA tonight and then at the next meeting terminate, or remove, not terminate,
Right, yeah.
but reassign.
No, I understand y'all's concern. I mean, it's my concern as well. Don't think I'm not, I see a lot of things around town that I'm not liking at all. And
Councilman Greenwood,
you wanna make,
as a last comment, you don't have to have an ordinance book that big.
to what?
An ordinance book. You don't have to have one that big.
Oh, yeah.
You know, all the ordinances are what y'all determine. You have 4 of those. I do apologize, I don't have to.
So the
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve our town clerk as the official DRA.
Okay, a motion on the floor by Lenny Richardson to appoint Vaughn Braddock as the DRA. Is there a second? Second by Randy Peterson. Discussion. So, we have a motion and a second. The question that the vice mayor asked, and then you said that the council then would not have, the DRA would have the authority, but the council would not? Or
Well, for determining whether a violation has occurred, yes.
okay. And then if a violation has occurred, then what's the next step after that?
Usually they're obliged to notify the person that there is a violation and give them a time to comply. I would want to work closely with the town clerk moving through these initial stages, since it's really never been done, but that's how it would work.
And I'm
If-
sure she would appreciate that too, because she's never done it as well.
Whether it's 15 days, 30 days, usually it depends on the violation. If it's something that's an immediate sanitary health concern, they shouldn't get any time. They, it needs to be done. But I'm giving an example. But if it was not, if it's too many signs in a window, no offense, but that's not an immediate sanitary issue. I could imagine giving more time usually under those circumstances. If it's not brought into compliance as your DRA instructs, then more serious consequences, and the DRA has the authority to levy some consequences on them, fines. Now, I think you've also discussed in the past getting reports from the DRA for open investigations and cases so that you can have oversight. That is also an option for you, so that they're not, running amok, so to speak. I'm sorry, did that answer your question?
Yes. Okay. I just want to address the one comment about we need to move forward, that we shouldn't be afraid. That has nothing to do with being afraid. This board has just made a decision in the past that we do not want to have a form of code enforcement. And I allude to what our vice mayor stated, what the mayor had told us, not once, but on several times, that if you don't have that, don't go there. Because it's like okay, this person, you reported them, so now we're gonna go get, then they're upset, so then they report their neighbor. It's just can work into something that we have not had that here in the town of Pierson. So I understand there was a concern. That's why the mayor, our former mayor, James Sal, brought that up. So it has nothing to do with being afraid.
And just so everyone knows, under Florida law, there's no anonymous complaints, right? If somebody says they don't want to give the name, you just crumple up what you just wrote down,
Throw it in the trash can.
and throw it away. You can't act.
So on this,
Except for an environmental issue, I think.
There is an exception, you're correct. Also upon personal observation. So if an officer personally sees, they don't necessarily have to put their head in the sand.
so, yes.
I'm just questioning how that's going to affect her job as a department. Is it going to take away? Is she going to go from the office out and investigate something?
No, she can delegate for our charter, the boys to go look. She can delegate to whomever she
That
asks.
is a,
Mhm.
Is that correct?
It is correct. You could also do it yourself, but
I'm just,
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
yeah.
So if, and then Mark just stated if that's anonymous complaint other than environmental, that's the exception. But if you make a complaint and it's non-environmental, then the person has to,
Must.
must.
In order for it to be investigated. It can't even be investigated without it being an actual identified person.
With the DRA being brand new to all of us, including Yvonne, including
schedule
Yeah,
or
right,
time,
and
you
it's
know.
all, I mean, it's just like the rental, it's just like all this other stuff, there's so much stuff that is changing in the world.
Yeah,
We got to
would
get
the town be
compliant, all of it.
to charge fees for,
Yes, if I understand your question correctly, Vice Mayor, if there was a violation, the cost of investigation can be charged, even if they bring it into compliance. So that is something you could do. That is definitely something we should talk about, and figure
should that be
out.
something we should talk about before we pass this?
It's up to y'all.
I believe so. I think we need to have I agree with what Brandy said, have a workshop and lay out some of the criteria and things that we're going to, because there's a lot of.
What is that gonna change if we can have this, I mean, we just made a motion to approve the bond for the DRA
And second.
and second it. And if we don't approve this and we have a workshop and we go back through and hash out all this stuff the past hour that we just spent in this meeting talking about this, is the same outcome we get.
Well, no.
I'm just saying that we have to have a DRA. The DRA, I don't think is up for discussion at this point. I mean, from all of what he said and what Christian said tonight, whether we want to have one or we don't want to have one. We have to have one in order to follow our ordinances. So I don't think the question about do we want a DRA is what we're doing. I think we have to have one.
Well, the question,
According-
but the question that you raised is a legitimate question. When we appoint this person, we want to make sure to have things in place, and that so this does work.
We should have that in place when we wrote the land development regulation for this person to be in charge of all this stuff. I mean, we got to start making moves instead of tabling all this stuff all the time.
But to have a workshop though, and to try to
I was
encompass.
saying have a workshop so we can all learn about the DRA and who's responsible and what we want her to do as this position. That's what I was saying,
Because
suggesting
the
the workshop.
findings come back to us, right, Christian?
The findings.
The opinion comes back to us.
What the
Doesn't
DRA,
have
the
to.
DRA does report to you, they're an employee of the town, so you can get as many reports and as much information as you want. You could say that if they have any investigations going, they need to be on the agendas. You could walk into town hall.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any other further discussion? Give a roll call vote. Brandy Peterson,
Yes.
Lenny Richardson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland,
Yes.
and the mayor, yes. So carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
We
Item-
can, just, we can bring this up in a workshop, I think we should soon.
Yes.
So,
Pierson,
we-
I'm
yeah.
not disagreeing with that.
Yep. And-
I think it's for all of our benefits.
But I think it's, I'm hoping this
I don't
will be
think it
for
has to
the
be a bad thing, it's just
I
got to
think
be
so.
something that we've got to
Will be something.
have in place.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not willing to put a whole bunch of more work on that by
Mhm.
any means.
Okay, item number 5G, ADA compliance. This was brought up at our last, when it was not I think it was at our workshop. It was not an agenda item. Y'all recall that, the ADA compliance? And so
Yeah,
I put
we
it
got
on
it.
there so that we could discuss it further. The,
Ray brought it up
Oh,
at a meeting
Yeah.
that we need to address this.
you know,
This was
Yeah,
adopted.
are these all the places that,
I just can't believe it's that
need to
old.
be updated?
That's the list from Ray Leonard that he brought up to you all at the last meeting and
Uh-huh.
stuff, so I put it on the agenda. That's what he got from Melissa Fox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of upgrades that need to be
The solutions.
done to come in compliance with ADA.
Well, the ADA compliance, there at the park, we had talked about that. We need to have a, how do y'all want to proceed with that?
This looks like it needs to be a workshop, there's a bunch of stuff on here.
Well, the community center definitely needs, we rent that out every
Yes,
weekend.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's some people that have been there that's, been confined to a wheelchair.
Correct.
And,
We have voting in August.
yeah, and we need to, I think we need to bring that up as soon as possible, along
Yes.
with town hall here. I thought we had,
You don't have to
we're
worry,
not,
you
we're
don't,
not completely ADA compliant here now?
That was the old town hall.
yeah, you don't have to worry about town hall anymore.
I'm
No,
talking about
this
this town hall, yeah,
This is an old list, this is
this
not
is
an
an old
updated
list,
list.
yeah. This is brought up, this is compliant.
We are compliant with,
This
as of
building is
right now.
That's what I
everything.
thought, that's what I thought.
When you last went through the funding process for the community development block grant, you're required to generate this list.
Mhm.
So that was 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
3 years? Yeah, 4.
The resolution is 2111.
Didn't feel that long ago, but,
Time flies when you're
Yeah.
having fun. No, I think we definitely need to make the proper upgrades to the community center.
Yes.
So,
ASAP.
Also, there needs to be ADA compliance there at the park there, the Shepherd Zones Park, where the bathrooms and the parking for handicap, to bring that into compliance.
I was just gonna throw this out there, we've kind of been, I attended the Volusia County Echo Grant workshop. As far as I know, Pierson has never applied for an Echo Grant. One of the things we discussed, you can use Echo Grant funding for anything cultural, heritage-wise, historically related. A lot of cities in Volusia County use it for, things like community spaces. So I thought maybe that might be something we looked at, where if you're gonna put a bunch of money into the community center, maybe we work on a proposal and try to get an Echo Grant, which is matching. So in other words, if you're gonna put 30 grand in the community center, if you got approved through Volusia Echo, you could get 60. And then that would allow you to do all the upgrades at the community center. It would allow you to make it ADA compliant. It would maybe even allow you to address some of the parking situation. But to me, it's one of those things where I'd be interested in looking at doing grant proposals like that, because Volusia County does it, right now they're doing it twice a year. And, you'll have to do some legwork in getting quotes and doing a presentation and things like that, but, you don't get it if you don't apply for it. And that might make our money go a little bit further at the park, at the community center. So maybe if we're gonna entertain the idea of doing a bunch of upgrades at the community center, we try to double our money and apply for it.
Yeah, and that's coming up soon,
September.
Karen? What was that you showed me at the post office? What was that you showed me at the post office? That wasn't Echo Grant? I thought you told me there was Echo Grants coming up.
The Echo Grant, the normal cycle starts in September. You have to have your application in by September. They did a mid-cycle one this year, but you had to have that in by next week.
Right.
We didn't have time to put together a, several hundred-page proposal in, 2 weeks.
When is the next,
You have to have, I think, your next proposal in by sometime in September. So there'll be another workshop in July that you have to attend mandatorily. If they did it online, you do it online. And I maybe have to get with Mark, or I have to get with somebody who's familiar with them to figure out what we need to do. But we'd also, like I said, that might need to be something that we talk about in a workshop, if we're gonna talk about spending money on upgrades. Maybe we approach it from that angle. And we could make a list of all the things we need to bring the community center up to code and
But
just
some
an
of
idea.
this has to be done by August, just so, because that's when we have elections, stuff going up over there.
Well,
Is
isn't,
that what you were saying, everybody, the community center stuff needed to be ASAP?
aren't the bathrooms and stuff ADA compliant over there now though?
I think they do.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
asking.
Yes, yes, I
We
think
need
so.
to work on those upgrades before we're trying to get echo grant.
Well, we need to do it, yeah, right.
That's what you're saying.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, just to bring it
Election coming
into compliance, but that's a good thing that Ryan brought up, we can
But,
get
but
funding.
I agree with what Ryan just
Yeah.
said too.
Yeah.
But
Before we.
maybe just some things that we need to do,
The
minor things to bring it into
So what
compliance.
is not ADA compliant there? Because I thought they took the doors off and changed the doors around to make that bathroom at the park, but not the community center.
I think there's issues in the bathrooms, right? Still,
And getting in.
and getting in. But it's got that
You
step
have to
up
have a ADA compliant handicap parking spot where on the side it's marked, so if they have a wheelchair, they can get out and roll up onto the concrete. We don't have any of those things.
there. I thought that was painted blue. I thought that was,
There's a
That's-
strip over there that is painted handicap, it isn't, that's not compliant.
that's not compliant.
No, we found out from the fire marshal it's not compliant. Compliant is that there is a marked area, if you look in other parking lots, a marked area that if they are in a wheelchair, they can get out of their vehicle and not run into another vehicle or
Right,
they
yeah,
can
there's
easily
that
get in.
space between the handicap parking, correct? Isn't that what you're talking about? There's usually about a 4 foot, at
Yes.
least 4 foot,
Yeah,
or
the
maybe 5
community
feet.
center, yeah.
Maybe 5 feet
Yeah.
between parking places.
Yes, at the community center, that does have that.
Well, it must not be ADA compliant, though.
So who said that it's not in compliance?
You have to have an area for them to get out of their vehicle that is marked with the blue. I don't know if you've ever gone anywhere and there's like these diagonal lines on the side of the parking
Yes.
spot. That is where they can get out and get into whatever building they're getting into. We don't have them out front here.
No, I don't.
We have a handicapped parking spot at the community center, but we do not have,
It's not compliant.
we haven't followed it the whole way through.
over there.
There's very specific dimensional requirements for parking space, there has to be an accessible route.
Right, yeah, no, I understand. I understand. I just,
Well, I think we need to bring, whatever we need to do to bring this
I
in,
thought that was-
into compliance, we need to go ahead and do it.
yeah, I thought it was there.
I think we should go ahead and, whatever we need to do, we need to get the specs of what needs to be done, and it needs to be brought into compliance.
I'm afraid that the problem with the bathrooms, though, those doors aren't near big enough. You're gonna have to do some major stuff.
We have to go over there and measure them because they have,
I'm
there's a
afraid you're
certain
gonna have to do some
minimum.
major stuff to get those bathroom doors.
We probably need to do some major stuff over there anyways and bring
Because
them
you
up
have
to
to think
date.
about the island and the kitchen area
Kinda lock
as
it
well,
down.
and somebody's in a wheelchair, they can't get around that island.
That might be where that echo grant comes
Discussion
in.
and action.
Could you temporarily, if they can't get into the bathrooms there for the elections, rent an ADA compliant porta potty for that day? As long as they had
We've
a
had the
facility
election
there?
there for all of our life and they ain't been a problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Until that one problem
Until that,
comes along.
until that day.
Right.
Until that problem comes along, right, yeah.
We haven't had
Am
a
I
problem
wrong?
yet.
No
I'd rather
comment,
spend
no
the
comment.
$65
Just,
on the
you know,
porta potty and
You
not.
haven't gotten on the radar of
Yeah.
whoever goes around suing people.
Yeah, right.
Is that, you know.
And
Yeah.
England.
I think we should do an evaluation
I
of what we
think so,
need to
too.
do and
Yeah.
correct these problems before, like they're saying, before we have a problem. So the mayor would entertain a motion to identify the shortages that we have and then get pricing and to move forward on it
At the community center.
at the community center and and at our park.
I thought we were gonna have a workshop, I thought we were just
Yeah,
discussing
let's-
the community stuff, right?
Let's table this
Community
and work, and get a workshop, like immediately. We can all go over there, look and see what we've got, find out what has to be done.
Okay, you wanna table this then?
I think so, I think we should table it first. I move to table.
Have a motion on the floor,
5G.
motion on the floor,
Till a workshop.
motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland to table the ADA compliance until a later date and to set a workshop. Is there a second? Seconded by Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, water supply, security, discussion and action, Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
So in your packet, I was watching in one of my insomniac nights, watching Fox News, and a segment caught my attention, and it was from the federal government had issued, memos, notices for cities, towns, municipalities, whomever provides municipal water to be extremely vigilant protecting your water sources. The primary, risk was, of course, cyber, people hacking your system and dumping, a lethal amount of chlorine in the water or whatever. But it also did talk about the actual plants themselves. And they recommended to make damn sure they were hardened, they were secure. So we've got those new wells and, this is like 14 pages, it's a lot of reading. But that was it in a nutshell, and I just thought it was time, after hearing this, to discuss it and see if we need to secure the new wells.
We definitely need to secure the new water plant, which is not online yet. Is that part of the, Mark, is that a part of the completion of the water plant, the security?
I don't know. I think that if you guys want cameras, that's something that you'll have to do separately. Like you did with your,
Like we did at the water plant, or original water plant and at the water tower. We hardened that, put up cameras. So we basically need to do the same thing at our new water plant.
if you want to do additional fencing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, is fencing part of the,
Yes.
I would think so, would be part of the grant.
I'll have to go back and
You
look.
have
I
to
don't
look.
know.
Yeah, no, I
Fencing,
don't, no, my question
but I think
is,
whatever
if
they're
it was
gonna do-
included, if fencing was included.
And I don't know that
Right,
already,
yeah.
but I think whatever they're gonna do is gonna be like right there. If there's, if you're thinking about securing like these, the wells themselves, all are gonna.
But we definitely, before that goes online, we need to, that's true, we need to do the same thing there that we've done at our operating water plant and at the water tower. We need to use the word hardened to get cameras and fencing, a more permanent fence. That's just a temporary construction
Yes.
fence that's over there. So maybe,
And hey, we saved this 8-foot chain link that we took down here.
yeah. So I think we could go ahead tonight and approve to get some pricing for putting cameras and then getting maybe the fencing that we have that you just brought up, Lenny, get that put up, or to get some type of permanent fencing.
Well, we'll
in
have
that
to wait
area.
till they get done and take that down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it won't hurt to go ahead and get working on that.
Right, well, we actually could go ahead and put, that's all they were required to do was to put up that temporary fencing. We could go ahead and put up a permanent, fence with gates so that they can access the, have access points to get to the water plant. We need to keep in mind to, so we'll be able to transport our portable generator that we have now. It could be over, the portable could stay there, since we have a brand new one at the new, the existing water plant, but that still needs to have the ability to transport that to another location if we need it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we need to go ahead and work on getting that, as Lenny stated, get prices on the cameras and go ahead and get prices on doing the fencing in that area.
Let's do it. Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland to approve the construction of new fencing and cameras at our new water plant. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lenny Richardson. Discussion?
There is a person.
Yes.
Reading 5.053, when is that plant coming online and what is the reason for the additional delay?
You're wanting to know when it's coming online?
When is it coming online and what is the reason for the additional delay?
Can you speak to the,
They're testing it now, so it'll come on, it can come online within the next few weeks.
after the testing?
Yeah, after the testing, right, 'cause it's been energized, right?
Yeah, so we're doing testing now of the water quality. They're having, once we got power, they're running the wells and doing testing of the water. That's what Mark just reported.
So, and then there was a question about delay.
She said, what's the delay? Why isn't it?
Reason for the additional delay, and when you say a few weeks, is that like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, next year?
Yeah, I haven't seen this week's report, so, but it's not next year, it's literally, 2 to 3 weeks, potentially beyond.
I think they have to analyze the water for a certain number of days, 30 days or something, to make sure it's consistent, and then it can be put online.
But the most recent delay that has gone on for weeks has been with, that came out.
Yeah, Duke Energy has been a nightmare for us for that
Duke
project.
Energy.
Like, if the name and address of the plant did not 100% match what was on the building permit for Universal, they kept rejecting it. So we went back and forth like 3 times with Duke Energy about that. They also lost our $14,000 check that we sent them to pay for the electric to be put out there. They deposited it and then they called Yvonne and said they never got it. She had to provide a copy of the canceled check, and they found it and said, oh, we didn't apply to the right account. So we've been going back and forth with Duke Energy since about March on that. So yeah, it's been a mess. We're at the end though, hopefully.
Any other question?
Nope, I'm good, thanks, sir.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion on the floor in a second. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item 5I, Municode discussion and action. Deputy Clerk Ryan Smith.
Okay, so this has come before council before. Municode is an online code hosting and codification service. Essentially, they take all of your land development regulations, they take all of your ordinances, they codify it, they put it online. It is ADA compliant. It's searchable, yeah, thank you. And it also maintains a record of all of the changes, additions, deletions, basically a paper trail anytime an ordinance is updated, added. And this is reviewed once a year. I think Christian also emailed me that they, in addition, check through all of your codes to make sure that the language and verbiage in there is not outdated, that it's compliant with state and federal.
They'll do that for an extra fee.
Right, well, yeah. So, basically, I did some research because we've been talking about number one, we've been talking about a DRA, so your codes are gonna have to be available online all the time, and they have to be ADA compliant, meaning if someone's visually impaired, for instance, they can click on something, it will read this aloud to them. We are the only municipality in Volusia County, and that includes Volusia County, that does not use this service. Every other municipality budgets for this yearly to host all their codes. They send the codes to them, they codify it for you, they put it into your ordinances, they put your land development regulations in order. Anytime you guys vote on a change to a land development regulation, you know, we spoke about, I did get a copy of them on our website, but it is still not compliant the way that it should be. So I just went ahead and reached out and got a quote. I talked to both Mark and Christian, who I think have maybe spoke to the council before, maybe the people that were here before you spoke to the council. But I just think it's something that you should entertain, since, you know, a huge part of our job here at the town is to make this accessible to the public, especially if we're going to start enforcing the codes. We need to be able to point to them online, and they should be updated and current and accessible to people.
Ryan, I have a question about
Sure.
this. So I don't know if I'm reading it right. I see that total annual renewable is $65.90, but I'm trying to figure out, if you just got the bare services, like supplementation and online code hosting, that would be more like $4,700.
Okay.
Right? So are those, I'm trying to figure out, is it just like monthly updates for $1,100 and then $500, or?
There's a thing on here to tell you what the premium stuff offers, and that would be up to the council. Yeah, so basically that is so that I think at any given time you can send them stuff and they will go ahead and put it online for you. I think otherwise they only do it once a year.
I see. So theoretically, the town council could consider not doing it monthly or whatever. The other stuff, there's like there's a 6,500 option and a less option. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure this.
Right.
27 plus.
Well, I think my concern is that the premium features include the online hosting. The other, they just do your ordinances and send you a copy of it, as far as I'm aware. I mean, we want Municode to actually host
It's just
the code online.
why does it say online code hosting premium bundle
Right.
at $11.95 and then $9.95 and then two other costs? Online code hosting optional savings.
Some cities just do the code of ordinances, some do the code of ordinances and LERs.
Right, and some do even more than that. Some do their minutes and agendas there, some do their charters there. I only reached out to them regarding the land development regulations and the code of ordinances. Our charter's small enough, I think we could make it.
Where's your legal description? Yeah, because I know that's one thing that when you've annexed land into Pierson, you're supposed to change the legal description
Okay.
of the town. Usually that's associated with your charter.
Okay.
And almost all cities rely on, Municode, because you just send them the ordinance. Otherwise, you have to incorporate the annexation into your legal description. I don't think that has been.
I don't think it's,
I
as
don't
far
know
as
what
I
department has been doing.
as far as I can find it, it's not been done. And it's a mess. And part of the reason I reached out to Municode is because they do this professionally, and, you know,
We
most,
recently, when I say we, Ryan and I recently went back and forth just trying to incorporate some of the
Like 3 years worth
ordinances
of-
that have not been done since 2018.
2018, yeah.
It was a major undertaking.
my thought there is that Mark's office has done a lot of work to help us get them up to date, and Christian's office has done a lot of work. If you're already paying each of their offices a substantial amount of money to do this work, and then they're still not compliant in terms of they're still not online and ADA accessible and readable and Boolean searchable, then we paid all that money and it's still only half done. And we pay for web hosting, and you know, I can put some basic version of it on the internet, but the web hosting that we have, put it this way, like I said, every municipality, and I have spent hours, I've gone through Flagler County, Volusia County. The only place I can find so far that is not using Unicode is Crescent City. And all of Crescent City's stuff is PDF format, and if they ever get dinged for
And
anything.
Crescent City is, by the way, they are working with Unicode right now, so they will.
Because
be on-
they just upgraded their website too. They finally jumped on board and got a website through that same company, Civic Plus or whatever it is. But they were the only one. I mean, we're kind of on our own out there in terms of not having this stuff online and accessible to people.
I have worked with Municode. I think Municode is very, very, very good. They're quick. You send something to them, they upload it. It's not by our standards cheap, but they're almost perfect, you know, and they keep a permanent online repository. Someone Googles Pierson Town Code, large gatherings, it'll pop up.
Right.
It'll also have the chain of the old laws, and sometimes you can even look up the old ones.
Does this total cost $65.90? Is there anything we can cut from that to?
That's why I was saying, it looks like you can. I don't fully understand this, but there's multiple optional things in here.
Yeah, because this is all new to me. I'm complete ignorance here.
And that's annual.
Well, I was just wondering too,
Yeah.
because like Ryan said, the premium bundle, it says online code hosting, customer banner, code bank, compare and e-notify, or e-bank,
Yeah, which is your ordinance bank.
but that's $11.95. So does the premium bundle not cover everything you need? Or you have to have this supplementation? What is that?
That was the way it was described to me. If you want it all online and hosted with all the historical notes and revisions and all that stuff, you have to use their premium service.
And
You
this
can
is
just
premium.
pay,
The $65.90 is premium
yes,
for
that
everything?
is the premium for
Oh.
the LDR, and because see, they're each separate. So like when I first got this quote, it was only the code section, which was the 1900 and the 995. And then I had to revise it because then because I got this quote back in like March. And then when the whole LDR issue came up and Mark and I were going back and forth by email, it was like, oh, okay, well, this is a huge undertaking as well. So maybe Unicode needs to host both. And like I said, minutes and agendas and stuff like that, rather than spend the extra charge, I can probably put them in a text-based format and put them online. I'm not worried about that, but like hundreds and hundreds of pages of ordinance, you know, it's a lot. I think we can handle the minutes and the agenda ourselves. So I only asked for those two things. But they'll do it all. They'll do your charter, but of course you're gonna pay for that.
So do we want to try to look and see what we can? Do y'all know what package that you want to go with tonight, or you want to table this and bring it back?
Ryan, which one of these two that you just mentioned that you suggested we get?
So there's a basic,
Take the agendas and the minutes out.
Yeah.
yeah, they're not in there.
What needs to be
Okay, so
is
see at the
ordinances.
top, see where it says supplementation code $1,900?
Yep,
And then underneath that supplementation land development regulation?
yep.
All those are for you to send them the stuff. They build it all into, you know, they codify it and they build it into a thing. And once a year, they send you a folder for you to have at town hall. That's it. They're just doing your land development regulations and your code. They're not hosting it online. They're not making it available to anybody. They leave that part of it up to you.
Okay.
So then you come down and they have a premium where it says online code hosting premium bundle. That $11.95 is in addition to that $1,900. For that, you can email them all year long, all your updates. They put it online, they format it. If it's not codified, they find where it belongs and they codify it. You know that, but that is, I think, what you ultimately want is you want it online and compliant. And I know, you know, Christian and I talked, the council has shot it down a lot of times before, but then for 5 years, it just wasn't online at all. And that's becoming a bigger and bigger issue because we keep getting emails for public records requests and people are asking why land development regulations aren't online and how can they find answers about this property. And, you know, we're the only municipality that can't just point to this and say, well, it's all here. And again, you know, we've talked in the past about all these ADA lawsuits that are coming up, and that makes me nervous too, because just like we talked about with the community center, they're also doing it for accessibility to your website, your data, you know. So I just,
Can we, maybe for now, until we see the monthly updates, what if we don't do monthly updates?
okay.
I mean, could you go on there probably and update every couple months or,
Annually.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Sounds like annual.
Yeah, annuals, they usually do it once a year.
I'm just,
Yeah.
cause I'm 100% about this. I think this is
Right.
a good thing. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but I mean, look at any agenda, we spend $6,500 all the time. And this is to bring
I mean,
us up to par.
and when you're talking about a budget of over $1 million, it's not that big of an expense, considering that it's a necessity for, I mean, that you're the government, right? The
Right.
town of Pierson is a municipality. This stuff has to be accessible. And, you know, I can understand that if other municipalities were forging ahead on their own and hosting it, but everyone else seems to just hand it to Municode, they're the professionals, and they let them do it. And if you wanna keep going like we're going, I'm fine with that.
I think we're all in agreement. We want to do, this is good. We just don't, we don't know which package or what to include or what not to include. I don't know. Would you want to have this a part of our next workshop and then come up with and work with Ryan at the workshop? Then I asked earlier, did you know what you want? If y'all know what package you want, that's fine too. I just don't.
No, I think we need to leave it to Ryan and Yvonne. And I think,
Only thing that I was
Mark,
down-
I think Mark and Christian need some input in this too. I mean, you know, this is, you know, it's funny, this is $6,600 a year. And then we get people complaining about Mark charging $50 to talk to Mark.
Right,
It just,
but they want to be able to go online and see
exactly,
it.
yep.
Look at your next quote on carpet. 6,500 will be a great expenditure.
I think we're gonna table that.
Right now, we don't need to have a carpet in that room now, so.
So what do y'all want to do?
Do we need all of this?
Do you want
Is what
to-
my question is,
That is why I
Mark?
got the quote on the full thing.
Ryan?
In my opinion, we do, but Christian and Mark might think otherwise. I don't know.
Do you
This
think we could do away with the monthly update and just do an annual?
The monthly update is the 1,100. See the check marks here on the side?
Yeah.
Those are the 4 things that they are including in our package. So the monthly
Okay.
update is not included. I can send them
Oh.
monthly ones, and they
But
will.
why does that say 6,500 if it's just the check mark ones? Because that's
Yeah,
not,
'cause that's
I
not
couldn't-
6,500.
that adds up to 4,700.
I couldn't figure that out either, but I
Okay.
think it's because there is an upfront charge because it's like startup costs.
But it
This
says
is
the total
annual-
one time, the investment 0 is what it says. I had the same thought, but it says it's 0 for that investment,
Right.
the one time.
Well, I can ask her that.
Yeah.
I
And then total annual renewal.
Cause if it's
65.
4,700 or 4,800 without the monthly stuff, that's a big,
Well, do you
difference.
possibly want to, and I think we're all in agreement, this is a good thing, and thank you for all your time that you've invested. Maybe, would you want to table this and let Brian work and tweak and answer some of the questions that have been raised and bring it back? Or if you want to, I just trying to move the meeting along.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Yeah.
I think we need clarification. I agree with the rest of the council. This is something that we need, probably long overdue. But we do need some clarification before we act on it, because the 4 check marks does not add up to 65.90.
$65.90, no.
No, it's all of it.
So,
Monthly,
so
please.
let's get that clarified, put it on our next agenda, and we'll act accordingly.
Mayor would entertain a motion to move and table till our next regular meeting.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland to table until our next regular meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Flooring quotes, Building 2, discussion and action. Deputy Clerk Ryan Smith.
I'm gonna say we should motion to table that because there's no sense in talking about flooring if we've still gotta clarify the survey and we don't have a renter at this point, so
Okay.
maybe it's a little premature for that.
Mayor would entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Lenny Richardson to table 5J, flooring quotes, and Building 2. Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Randy Pierson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, updates by mayor. I think most of y'all probably know, in fact, I know the sheriff's department is here. Y'all know about the incident we had at the airport. We had a
Had a crash there, didn't we?
crash, yes. But no one got hurt. It's under investigation. And I know the airport is closed at this time. If you have any question, you could call the person that we kind of asked to head up the airport, Olin Cannon. But the good news is there was nobody got hurt. There was nothing. But the plane did flip over on its roof.
It
And,
flipped, didn't it?
It flipped.
It was odd. It's like it landed and then it veered to the south,
Mm-hmm.
and just east of the wind sock
Mm-hmm.
is a little ditch. Thank God he hit the damn ditch or he'd have been in seven,
Wow.
Yep.
you know.
And then we have a different story. If he'd have gone out there and the car would have been coming.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
So, back, another, thing that I'd like to report is that back, and this has been last year, we had worked on getting a quote from USG Water, for they're installing the valve that we need over the water tower, the super air vent, the mixer, and there was this was all forwarded to Christian. The board reviewed all this, the cost and everything. But when I spoke with him, I said, I do not want to do anything over there until both the schools are not in session. So I had a meeting with USG Water last week. They do have the permit. They copied Yvonne with the email showing that they did get a permit. And but I'm just giving an overview that I had shared with them. We do not want to do anything over there until both the schools are or not in session, so this, they right now have a date scheduled for installation, to start the process of the June the 18th, I believe. So they're going to not only the new equipment, but they're going to chemically clean the tank and do the painting and the upkeep of the tank also at the same time. So we're going to be getting cleaning, we'll get painting done, we'll get the new valves, we'll get the super vent, a mixer, and none of this is to be the new installation. That doesn't come due until after the completion, everything's been installed. And I know we've had in the past, I know, I believe that Robin would ask it different, where were we at on that, and so now it's looks like that's coming up here, and we'll get that installed
Next month.
Yes.
That's good.
I think that's all I have at this time. I might revisit if there's something that I need to address. Updates of town projects from town attorney.
No updates.
Okay. Updates from our town planner, Mark Perret of Zev Cohen.
Already talked about the water plant. I'll be here June 6th to meet with people who want to talk about land use and zoning. Next month in July, I'll bring forward the amendment that you guys directed to the sign code. It will allow electronic message center signs. That'll happen at the July planning commission meeting. Otherwise, that's it. That's all.
And changing the start time.
That's changing the start time.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, under old business, Travis Roach quote for rodeo grounds, bleachers, discussion and action. Did we get anything from Mr.
Yeah,
Roach?
it's in your packet.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
And then I think Brandy had talked about maybe
I did call Brad McDonald, but he is not working with the same kind of steel or whatever that they use up there yet.
You don't Healy yard.
She's right, yeah.
Right. He's not there yet.
This is probably aluminum, isn't it?
Right,
That Travis is.
yes.
Mhm.
I'd like to move the table then for tonight.
So
Table.
moved.
We have a motion on the floor by Lenny Richardson to table the Travis Roach quote until our next regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay, until our next regular meeting. Is there a second? Second by Brandy Peterson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, this was the tabled from our last meeting, the proclamation, teacher appreciation. This is a proclamation, Town of Pierson, for teacher appreciation, whereas the teachers of Pierson Elementary and T. DeWitt Taylor Middle High School have committed themselves to providing a quality education for the students under their leadership, and whereas said teachers spend countless hours before, during, and after work hours preparing lessons, grading papers, providing learning opportunities, leading extracurricular events, communicating with parents, and attending school and team meetings. And whereas these teachers are making an investment in the future leaders for our town, county, state, and country. And now therefore, on behalf of the town of Pierson, I, Mayor Samuel G.S. Bennett, would like to encourage all citizens to thank the teachers of our community. Let the record show this is read at our public meeting, and that's become a permanent record in the minutes for the town of Pierson on this 28th day of May 2024. item under old business, 6C, Resolution 2024-05, amending public records request and procedures.
So you had directed me to provide a policy for your consideration regarding public records and how the town handles them. This resolution before you, which I'll read the caption, a resolution by the Pierson Town Council of the Town of Pierson, Florida, amending the public records request policy and procedures and providing guidance and complying with the efficient and effective management of public records requests and providing for an effective date. What this does is it lays out some guidelines and policies for you to know how public records should be dealt with and how staff should be dealing with it. And so the meat of this is all in Exhibit A.
What page is that on?
It's on page 3. There's a lot of definitions there. This is based on a policy I did for another town, which is based on a state agency's policy. So I haven't reinvented the wheel here. This is something that's used by many other governmental agencies. And so, for example, on page 14 talks about how there's a presumption of openness regarding public records. That's ripped from the statute. There are exemptions, so when you receive public records requests, there are certain documents that do not need to be provided, and some things that should not be provided, like social security numbers, bank account numbers, things like that. This codifies that, gives your staff guidance about how to handle that without constantly calling the town attorney. They can figure that out on their own. Emails, there's no right of privacy to emails for your town employees. I'm on page 6, so those are public records. Page 7, let's see. Just some interesting things that are important for people to know. For example, public records requests can be made orally. They do not have to be made in writing. And also, if the town gets a public records request, they cannot condition providing the records based on getting a name. You don't need to get a name. If they got an email from, crazyperson@gmail.com, they'd have to respond to that request as if it was to anyone else. And they can ask the name, but the person's not obligated to give it, and we can't condition a response.
And that's for state law?
Yep. Because the idea with the public records law here is that the presumption is always you should give it. We don't have an interest in retaining it. Things have to be acknowledged promptly. Records requests need to be acknowledged promptly. But part of the reason why I really asked you to consider this is on page 9, talking about fees. And this lays out how fees can be charged. So, let's see. So there's a proposed per page amount of 15 cents a page. CD, well, I don't know why I have CDs on there. I guess we don't really use those anymore. But at any rate, then it gets into the extensive use policy. So if it takes more than 30 minutes of your staff's time, then they need to calculate based on their hourly rate or their salary what the amount of time they think it'll take to respond to the request is. If it's $1,000 worth of your town staff time, then you can make the requester give you a deposit in that amount before you even do any work. That's important because we could be bombarded by public records requests of like 1,000. Seriously, it could happen.
So, if an anonymous email comes in
Yeah.
and they want a ridiculous amount
Yep.
of information,
Yes.
how the hell you charge somebody if you don't know who they are?
It doesn't matter. You just tell them, I've got to get the
Get
$1,000.
this deposit.
You calculate it, you get the deposit,
Okay.
and it better be here. So we have to have received it before we start working.
Procuring.
So we're prepared. So we're protected on that.
Okay.
If they want to stay anonymous, you better pay in cash.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, this happened in another city of mine, and the city was shown on a wild like YouTube channel, and they made all kinds of accusations about the town council. But what it did is it mobilized a bunch of people to make crazy public records requests. And the second that the town clerk responded with, well, this is going to cost $45, $15, whatever it was, no one wanted, no, no, I don't think we had to respond to a single one. So it's not to punish people. It's why should other taxpayers pay for what someone else wants? So it's just a way to get users to pay for what they want. I think that the candidate who came and spoke to you at the last meeting actually sued a government agency over making her pay a deposit on a public records request. Interesting. She lost. So at any rate, that's pretty much what this policy does. I encourage you to adopt it just to give your staff guidance on how to handle things. And there may be things that pop up that require us to amend it, things that they encounter that I haven't thought of.
And this is strictly for public records requests.
That's all it
correct?
deals with.
All it
Yeah.
deals with?
Do you need to read the title?
I did.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's recommended from our legal counsel that has prepared this and saved us money because he didn't as he stated, didn't reinvent the wheel. So what is your pleasure on resolution number 2024-05?
I move to approve resolution 2024-05 pertaining to public record request charges.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Lenny Richardson to approve resolution number 2024-05. Let the record show that this the title has been read in its entirety and the attorney has gone over the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland. Ready for the question? Yvonne, if you please do a roll call.
Councilwoman Brandy Pierson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robert Greenland.
Yes.
Mayor Samuel Bennett.
Yes. Okay. So carried. Thank you. Chipper Jones Park, discussion and action. I believe this was also tabled from our previous meeting because it's under old business. We had talked about getting, which have already discussed. We talked about getting pricing on for handicap and making it handicap compliant. Is there anything else that anyone has tonight that you have pricing or some of the things that we talked about? I know we talked about getting prices on sod and the area there where there's issues with the parking. Anything to bring forth at this time?
Bobby, did you have
I
time
did
to
not. I did not check on the sod price.
Yeah, I want to maybe table this until our,
Yeah.
we get, okay.
Move to
But we're
table.
gonna have a workshop. with,
We can put this on the workshop.
Well,
Yeah.
well, it needs to be, but, yeah, when it comes to all the ADA stuff that needs to be done over there. And before we forget about it, we need to go ahead and schedule a workshop then for whenever y'all want to. Next Monday or whatever, I don't care. We can do that later, but.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor, Lenny, to
Yes,
table?
move to table.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Lenny Richardson to table Chipper Jones Park. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by our Vice Mayor Robert F. Greenland. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Okay, item 6E, survey from Jeremy Stedman, sidewalk discussion and action. Councilwoman Lenny Richardson.
Mr. Mayor, okay, so I'm gonna make this short and sweet. That sidewalk in question is definitely, ours. So Jeremy had stated he was gonna stop all the parking on it. It has not ceased. don't think we need to go to the expense of replacing that sidewalk. Let's snatch the damn sidewalk out, put some lime rock down and be done with it.
I agree. Yep, it is the towns.
So it is the towns, and so we're gonna, I'm sorry, what's the,
Take out the sidewalk that's ours, it's all broken, that there's still parking on. Take it out, put some lime rock down there and not replace that.
what if we just leave it? Cause if it's concrete, think about it, and then when we get a rain, just like we did tonight, that's gonna be a soupy mess. You know, like lime rock, we all know lime rock.
Well, let's ask, so he mentioned, Christian,
Mhm.
that his insurance company had mentioned to him liability because the sidewalk was cracked and so forth.
It looks to me like there's two, 3-foot sections that need to be replaced, and then it would be,
But why fix it? Take the damn stuff out.
But Lee, that would be cheaper, just to replace, and it doesn't have to be a big concrete company. I mean, we could repair it just like we did in-house at
But do
the,
you really trust, since he told us that they would quit parking on it and they haven't?
I think
So
they,
what, we're just gonna keep replacing? No.
I would trust them because we put signs up that you don't park, and and while that sidewalk is there, they can be fined for parking on there, because the sidewalk allows us to enforce no parking in that area. But once you remove the sidewalk, then you don't have any say. So,
Which I don't understand.
I thought we had approved to buy new parking signs for right there.
we did, but we haven't put them up because all this has kind of been in limbo. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I know we approved the no parking signs there, I just didn't know if that was.
are the no parking signs in? That
You've
one,
been in for over 2 months, hasn't it?
yeah, but we didn't put any signs up because it's kind of been in play. I didn't really know how this was all gonna work out. I didn't wanna put up signs and then expense of putting them up, and then we have to remove them, but we could post it that you're not supposed to park, and then we could enforce that. And I mean, again, you've got a surface there. I know he did have problems with insurance, but I think he got that resolved, didn't he?
He just mentioned the liability to us. I mean, hell, we should be suing him
for tearing up our
for tearing up the damn sidewalk.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it.
We talked about it earlier about Fountain Drive, it's all right there around that whole entire thing, you can see on this
Yeah.
survey right here,
Yeah.
like how much of that is really our right of way or whatever, and, I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to do something about that whole issue right there.
If that sidewalk is
Jeremy
destroyed
sells
because
that, then what?
Well, like,
Jeremy's business has destroyed it.
but like the vice mayor said, we got a couple, what was the dimensions you said?
It's only a couple sections, it's not, I don't think it's 6 feet long.
Yeah,
However wide it
and if
is.
you repair that,
3
then,
feet or
and
4
that,
feet.
and then that'll be the end of it, and you won't have, when it rains,
Well,
it
I'm
won't be
gonna
a big,
suggest we repair it better than we did our concrete out here in front. Cause you had mentioned having our employees do it, I'm just saying, the concrete out here in our sidewalk has got hole in it already.
who repaired that?
I'm assuming our boys have, it's brand new repaired concrete and these holes out here in the concrete. Fairly certain they told me that they were instructed to do that.
I don't know, I don't have any knowledge of it, so I don't know.
Well, it's right here in this corner of the, right here in front of the sign, Pierson Town Center sign, you can see it.
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Kelly Green, about 70 North Pine Street. If you leave that sidewalk there and they continue to park on it, it's gonna continue to get broken up, and sooner or later, somebody's gonna trip on it and sue us. If you take it out, put the gravel in, we can still put no parking signs up and still fine them no
No, can't do, I think you,
Right across from the high school, Mayor, they've got no parking on the right of way. Signs all the way down, yes,
didn't
you
you
can.
state that once you take the sidewalk
It
out?
wasn't me. Mark, was that,
It was Carbajal, Deputy Carbajal.
okay.
A
Yeah.
deputy said that.
That
That's-
once we take the sidewalk out, then we wouldn't be able
Which
to.
makes no sense to me, I didn't understand that.
I didn't either, to be honest.
And we're gonna
Yeah.
get sued because somebody tripped on the concrete because they weren't watching what they were doing.
I think that's a good idea you have, just, look, those little small sections, correct it, and then we're done with it. Because if you break them out, you're gonna have,
You're gonna have to put something in there to level it out,
yeah,
what to put in.
and you're gonna spend a lot more than fixing a couple little 3-foot sections.
Like you take it out, and just put something in there and plant grass.
But then if you do that, we need to get clarification, where is that coming from? He said if we take the sidewalk out, then we can't, then they will be allowed to park.
Now, if you put up a no parking sign,
Is it in our right of way?
Yes.
Yes, it's our right of way.
So maybe try to, do we want to table this until we get clarification on, because, I mean, getting different stories.
Yeah, I can't confirm that, so, I mean, I can't really advise you without more time to figure that out.
Okay, Mayor, would entertain a motion to,
Move to table.
have a motion on the floor to table the, survey Jeremy Stebbins sidewalk. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brandy Peterson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? So carried. Okay, Eford surveying the canal on Hagstrom Road. This was tabled 4/23/24. How would the board want to move on that? Or what's your thoughts? We can't start doing anything over there until we get a survey, so we can put that into the agreement, so that we can go on the property. And
So were these, were these property owners, was this decision made after the aerial photos were viewed that showed the actual natural drain of the,
Are you asking if we all looked at it?
well,
We
did
didn't.
Eford, did, I mean,
This was revised the 23rd, so that was last week.
yeah, and he just went out there, his crew went out and gave a proposal so we could access the two different properties and,
there's three,
And-
possibly four.
Yeah.
Well, this appears to be for the easement legal and a topographic survey for engineering showing the existing creek ditch location
Okay.
and elevations.
Okay, so then they did do that.
Across each property. Mm-hmm. Description for recording.
I mean, he'd have to create that survey with the topography in order to create the legal. I mean,
Yes.
because otherwise they wouldn't know what it would be.
Correct. And it was very obviously visible, the topography map, wasn't it, Ryan? The flow, I mean, it was, I'm a layman and I could tell where it used to flow.
yeah, this is added, he's also added the topographic survey and drawing to, I guess that would do the elevation and,
Yeah.
which we need that.
Got to have
Because the original
You
price
did it for
was,
two reasons. One, first of all, you're only, when you're working with St. John's and DEP, depending upon theory, they could say that you need to do additional permitting for that. They don't often do that, but depending upon how aggressive the cleaning is and the maintenance work.
Who said anything about talking to the water management district?
What?
Who said anything about talking to the water management district? I'm joking.
Right.
I'm joking.
So, I mean, A, that documents it, and then B, one of the things that you need, there's been a sheet flow across the property where the ditch isn't currently dug. And so, it's very important to document those elevations as well. That's sort of the natural and historic flow of water. Now, the current owner may not be aware that that is the natural and historic flow of water, but you definitely do want to document that once you start things flowing through that ditch.
Yeah, I just don't,
Well, we gotta start somewhere, right?
This is it.
um,
Yeah.
now, do they have it broke down, I know it's 5,000, but do they have it, an assessment for the topographic survey? What's the cost for that?
That's
Just
that's
5,000
included.
for everything.
It's all
It's
included.
Yeah,
Right.
also prepare a topographic survey and drawing for engineering showing the existing creek.
And
its
I'm all for-
location and elevations.
And I'm for all of that. I wanted just to limit it. Originally, it was just 3,000. And we need to do that other phase, but I wanted to first get something in binding in effect that, hey, this is where we're going. Now we have an agreement, which they would have to agree to. But I guess,
You don't want to send them out twice in certain cases.
right,
No, you want to go ahead and do it.
do it all.
Take him 2 weeks.
Well, they have verbally said everybody's in agreement on this. And, this has been tabled and
I
tabled.
know that Pete and Donald are,
But it,
okay.
So so as Councilwoman Lenny Richardson just stated, they haven't changed. I know that when I spoke with the different parties, they were also in support of that. So, wonderful. So the mayor would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve $5,000 for Eford Surveying to survey the drainage off of Picture Road.
Which would include the topographic survey also. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lenny Richardson. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried.
I just had one question on this. Donald's address and Prince Technologies address are the same, so that's probably not. They're both got 350 Richardson Lane on there.
So that's,
There's different legal, looks
Their
like an error.
parcel's ID numbers are
Yeah, the
different.
parcel
Yeah,
ID.
and so is the
Right.
legal description
Yeah.
source, but yeah.
And Pete's name is wrong. He's not Paul Richardson.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
wondering about
He's
that.
Egan Paul Richardson. Yeah.
okay. So we have that. So then, Yvonne, if you would, when do we want to put the agreement on there?
And it's not Donald
to
Johnson,
approve.
it's Donald
And
Jackson.
After we get the survey.
That would be great. I can't
Fire.
do it without it.
Without the survey, okay. Okey doke. There's nothing to put on there then after we get the survey. Okay. That finishes the agenda. Anything else you've thought of in the last couple minutes?
No, Mayor.
Our Vice Mayor, Robert F. Greenland.
Yes, I do have something. We need to adjourn immediately and run across the street and buy a Mega Millions ticket and hope we hit
Okay.
it. As much damn money as I have seen on this agenda tonight, we gonna need some money.
Well, I do have to just ask at this time.
Just making a joke.
Lenny, you have anything?
No, sir.
Brandy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, for the good and welfare of the public participation, anybody?
They all went home.
Okay.
We still have a few.
Okay.
Vic and Pam, I appreciate y'all sitting here
Yeah.
through
I
this.
was gonna borrow a dollar and go buy a ticket.
Yeah, we need two. We need $2 to buy one of those tickets.
Please be aware of the following dates: Tuesday, June the 11th, our regular council meeting at 6:30, and then our next regular meeting at 6:30. Planning Commission meeting June the 18th at 5:30. Being no further,
We need to set a
Set a
workshop.
workshop, that's
Oh,
what I was
workshop.
fixing to say, if you
Yeah.
don't have it here.
okay?
When you
I'm
want to
good.
do that?
Whenever, I'm good. Whatever happens.
Mondays are good for me.
Monday's good.
Monday,
Okay.
June third.
Monday, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, June 3rd.
Monday, 4 o'clock, Monday, June 3rd at 4 o'clock. Okay.
Good job.
Okay, being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
It's the fastest y'all have ever said a word.